we talk a lot about how when a parent is falling in their self-care or is stressed or is taxed or is traumatized, so it is somehow if the general is wounded, the soldiers
Yes.
will feel the pinch, right? And that you especially see that in families that are financially struggling because the
Yes.
financial pressure falls on the shoulders of the adults. And so
Exactly.
when they are under tremendous pressure, when they can't sleep due to the stress, wondering if they're going to have a job tomorrow, wondering if they're going to get a paycheck tomorrow, you can't tell me that that doesn't ripple down into the children, right? That there isn't
Yes.
a tangible level of stress in the house, and the kids get wound up, and all of a sudden you hear reports from school that so and so's acting out at school, and this one seems to have anxiety symptoms, and maybe we should get therapy for the kids. I don't know. Maybe we should pay the adults. Maybe that would
Yeah.
help.
Angela Caldwell, nice to see you again.
Thanks for having me again. It's good to see you too.
How you been?
Well, it's been busy. The school year started, so the children swallowed up my life. It's been
Yes.
crazy.
Yes, I can totally sympathize with that. So we started it in September, or no, maybe late August. I can't remember now. It's been it feels like forever ago.
Yeah.
It's I have been nonstop busy since school started, and I think the summertime was so chill, I forgot how labor intensive it was.
It smacks you in the face, doesn't it?
It
It all
does.
and it does some weird optical illusion with the calendar and the clock and all of you blink and it's holidays and the next thing you know it's going to be 2026. Yeah.
Yeah, and well, here it's still in the 80s.
Oh,
And so yeah, so the temperature is warm outside, leaves are starting to fall and it's
okay.
kind of fun, but it just kind of you're right. The time just kind of flies by and then next week it's going to be Christmas, you know?
Right. Right, exactly.
I took a picture. Oh, it's been about a month or so ago now. My wife was at work and I was just watching TV and randomly there was a Christmas commercial that come on.
Oh, stop.
And
Really?
yes, it was September and I was like, "Oh my goodness, they're starting earlier and earlier every year." But Christmas is my favorite holiday, so I'm not going to complain.
You're probably one of those people who wants to have Christmas all year round. I love it too.
I am. I tell you what, like we go into Christmas stores, like holiday stores when we travel and stuff. Like it could be 120 degrees outside and I walk in that Christmas store and I'm just like, "Where's the hot cocoa?"
I love it. I love it. My girls are obsessed right now with all the do you guys have Spirit Halloween stores that pop up
Yes.
out there?
Yes.
Yeah. So even though we're all set, we've got our decorations and our costumes. If we drive by one, they say, "Mom, let's go to Spirit. Let's go check it out." They're pretty in love with Halloween out here.
Yeah, it's amazing. Halloween's getting bigger and bigger every year, it seems like. When I was a kid, so that was back in the 80s and 90s when I was a kid, and it was pretty big, like we had Halloween, but now it's getting like commercialized just like how or just like Christmas did in that the decorations for Halloween that you put out in your yard every year are getting better and better and better and cheaper as well, like more affordable.
Yeah, yeah. It feels like I think maybe we hung some cobwebs. I think that's about the extent of our Halloween decorations when I was growing up. And now everybody has those big inflatables in the front now and those giant skeletons that tower over the top of your house. Everybody has
Yes.
those now. Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of inflatables, so I mentioned that Christmas is my favorite holiday. Every year, Little Debbie sells these Christmas tree cakes, and they're a hot-ish or a hot item every year. Like you go into the stores and they're sold out and stuff within the first couple weeks. But now they have Christmas tree cake inflatables. And I wanted to get one of those for my yard because I love Christmas tree cakes and I love Christmas. So you put the two together.
Well, and now your listeners know what to get you for Christmas.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, but yeah, so I've actually been struggling the last few weeks myself. So the last time we talked about like politically divided families, and right now it's becoming ever more apparent that we have not just politically divided families, but politically divided friends, politically divided strangers. Everyone seems to be politically divided. And I was wanting to know if you saw more of a more of a divisiveness over the last few weeks.
Yeah, yeah. I'm in Los Angeles, and so there's the discourse out here has been pretty concentrated on ICE and the different feelings people have about that, different feelings people have, which it brings it back to kind of to the fundamental issue, the different feelings people have about immigrants themselves. Um,
Yeah.
Lots of accusations thrown back and forth, and I think I don't think the government shutdown's helping anybody feel any better. You
Yeah.
know, I that's I remember the last time the shutdown happened, I remember hearing the same sentiment from my clients and friends and stuff. You're probably hearing it too, that um, if our leadership can't show us how to have opposing views and still function, what are the rest of us expected to do? You know?
Exactly. Exactly. Yes, I've heard that a lot. I've heard that a lot over my life as a whole, but specifically over the last couple weeks with with the shutdown thing, I don't really even know what to think about it, to be honest with you, because I understand what a shutdown is. I just don't understand why they do it. I think it's by and large like political theater, and it doesn't really help anybody to accomplish anything. It's just something to fight over.
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you. I don't claim to be any kind of political expert of any kind, but it does feel kind of like this superficial political warfare where
Yeah.
the casualties are us, are average, normal, average Americans, and so I'm thinking about, you probably do too. I have a friend who has now been laid off.
Yeah.
And as a result, it's almost like both parties or the leadership up there is kind of holding each other's constituents as hostages,
Yes.
The rest
Yes.
of us are the ones that
Exactly.
suffer. Yeah.
Exactly. And though I sometimes want to stay quiet on these things because I almost sometimes understand like how do I put it? The need for a smaller government, the need for layoffs and stuff like that. I don't agree with mass firings, but I do understand the need for those sometimes too. Business is business, and you can't. The country is broke, and at some point we have to acknowledge that. We have to acknowledge that we owe more than what we're taking in, and it's something's gonna have to give,
Mhm.
and we can't make everybody happy simultaneously. And somebody said something the other day that uh, during this whole shutdown thing, the one part of government that is getting paid are the people who are holding it hostage. So they're getting their paychecks, and they're holding the paychecks of everybody else in the government hostage. And I just you live to fight another day is sometimes what some one side or the other's got to give, because if they don't, like, we're going to be in this perpetual I think the last shutdown was like 35 days or something like that. I can't go a couple weeks without a paycheck,
I
you
think you
know?
rep I think you represent most Americans, you
Right.
know? Going without a paycheck, that hurts real bad for most families up
Yeah.
here. I think also you're seeing, and kind of bringing it back to the families, when we have this concept in psychotherapy and family therapy about the oxygen mask. When you're on a
Yeah.
plane and the flight attendant tells the adult, put yours on first. You got to breathe. We need you alive so that you can
Right.
help, your kids breathe. And we borrow that concept in family therapy. And we talk a lot about how when a parent is falling in their self-care or is stressed or is taxed or is traumatized, so it is somehow, if the general is wounded, the soldiers
Yes.
will feel the pinch, right? And that you especially see that in families that are financially struggling, because the
Yes.
financial pressure falls on the shoulders of the adults. And so
Exactly.
when they are under tremendous pressure, when they can't sleep due to the stress, wondering if they're going to have a job tomorrow, wondering if they're going to get a paycheck tomorrow, you can't tell me that that doesn't ripple down into the children, right? That there isn't
Yes.
a tangible level of stress in the house, and the kids get wound up, and all of a sudden you hear reports from school that so and so's acting out at school, and this one seems to have anxiety symptoms, and maybe we should get therapy for the kids. I don't know, maybe we should pay the adults. Maybe that would
Yeah.
help.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. And to go along with that, like prior to 2020, we were going on like I don't want to sound like an asshole here or anything, because sometimes people don't get to have the luxuries that I've had. But prior to 2020, we were going on like 4 vacations per year, like at least, sometimes as many as 6 vacations per year. And that's not just like staycations. That's going somewhere for a week or two and hanging out and doing the thing. In 2022, I believe it was, we went to Universal Studios twice.
Wow.
And so we love traveling, we love vacationing and everything. Since 2022, we've been broke. And we can't afford to go on vacations. We can't, we're living, we're doing pretty good. I'm still able to do this instead of having to go get like a quote unquote real job.
Yeah.
But but we've not had the disposable income to go on vacations and stuff. And we've had those conversations with our boys. When we going on vacation? Well, sorry, we can't afford it, in order to pay for those vacations, we used to have to like skimp out on like Christmas gifts and stuff like that, and big when a lot of families get together, they do Christmas and stuff, and they use that time to spend a whole bunch of money on gifts and stuff for the kids. What we like to do was we'd like to skimp on the Christmas gifts and do, like bare minimum, and then just be like, well, so we can pay for vacations and stuff. You guys aren't gonna have a very big Christmas. We're gonna have a traditional Christmas, and you're just gonna survive. But now we're having to have the traditional Christmases with the small gifts and everything and no vacations. And they're not used to that. And like when you're growing up and you have that for a long time and then you don't, they feel the stress of mom and dad being constantly burnt out every day, day after day. And they're like, something's different here. We used to
Yeah.
go on vacations and now we don't. And having to explain that hurts too.
That hurts, and you put there, it's likely that both you and your wife kind of feel your own disappointment,
Yeah.
and so you're walking around the house and that disappointment's kind of
Yeah.
coming out of your pores. Your kids can feel it, right? They can, that's what they're picking up on, and that's true of all kids all over the planet. We parents are the emotional compass, right? And so
Yeah.
they look to us. I always tell my clients, I think about it the way that I'm not a very good flyer, and kids look at parents the way that I look at flight attendants, right? So when there's
Right.
turbulence, planes bumping around,
Hey
I look
man, what's going on?
I look at the flight attendant, and if he seems like he's calm, then I'm thinking, okay, all right, we're good, we're good. Well, kids do that with parents, right? So when times seem tough or something bad happens, they look at us and
Yeah.
they feel us and they sense us. Is dad okay? Is mom okay? Are we okay? Are we going to be okay? And if we're kind of feeling like you're talking about this pinch that your family's been feeling, that causes an emotional reaction, even if it's small, and that emotional
Right.
reaction comes out, and now the house smells like that emotional reaction, right? And the kids pick up
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah. And I think maybe that might be what's going on with Americans as a whole, because we're all feeling it and then we're getting at each other. And instead of thinking about it like, you know what, we need to figure this out. We need to figure out why America's so broke, and get it figured out. That way we fight and squabble at each other because we're not understanding there's a bigger picture here. There's something that we're not seeing, something um we're not looking at to change. And so the things that are causing all this stress, it's just going to remain the same or get worse.
Yeah. Yeah. I like the I like what I'm hearing from some people from different conversations that I'm hearing on the news and in person and with clients and with friends. Um, that's it's the do your job conversation, and
Yeah.
I think well you'll probably I don't know if you'll relate to this, Ricky, but I feel that way when my kids were little like first and second grade, and they came home with these instructions for parents about how to help teach math at home, and I remember thinking I, you teach math. You do your job. I'll do my job. I got a lot
Right.
to working all day. I got to get dinner on the table. I got to take care of kids. And now you want me to do your job too. And I remember kind of the stress that that put on my shoulders.
Yeah.
And then when they got a little bit older, and believe me, I understand now. I forgive the teachers, but now they're a little bit older. And now I feel um, is it relief? I feel relief knowing that the teacher's going to do their job. I'm going to do my job. Ricky, you're going to do
Yes.
your job. Everybody's going to do their job. And guess what? We're going to make it. We're doing fine. And so rather than Americans, not political experts, not having all the insider baseball information, not really knowing what's going on, instead of saying, do it this way or do it that way, or the Republicans should do this or the Democrats should do that. Instead, I think as a collective, we all should be saying, hey, do your job. You do your
Yes.
job
Yes.
and we'll do our job. And guess what? I bet prices will go down. You do your job, we'll do our job.
See, but that's the problem though. I see that every day, and it's been like this for years. Nobody does their job.
Mm,
And I see it in my everyday life. I actually, that's why one of the reasons why I've struggled over the last few weeks is a series of unfortunate events have prevented me from doing the things that I need to do. And when you're depending on other people to do their job, you kind of, and they don't, and then they're so blatant about it, and they'll talk to you and they'll say things directly to your face that makes you, it's almost like gaslighting where they're trying to convince you that you're the problem. And I'm
uh,
like, no, I'm paying for a service and I need you to do your job.
yeah,
and
yeah.
and and then it gets so frustrating. And well, I mean, I'll give you for example, my dryer broke down
Mm,
about a month and a half ago, and we have a
that's a,
warranty.
yeah.
What's that?
That's a pain. Something that seems
Yes,
so small really disrupts the train in the house.
it really does, and it cost me actually a lot of money. But it was broke down, and so we have a warranty on it. We called the warranty company, and the warranty company set up an appointment with some mechanics to come out and to look at it. Well, they came out and looked at it. They told us what the problem was, and it took them a week to get here. And so that's 1 week we didn't have a dryer. Then they had to order parts. The parts took a week to get here. So that's another week. So 2 weeks without a dryer at this point. They come and then they replace the part. And it turns out that it wasn't that part, it was a different part. And so now that they have to go and wait for another part or whatever. Well, instead of letting me know what they were doing or how it was going to go, they just left. They said, well, this isn't working. And they went out to their truck and I didn't see them again. There was no communication on what was happening. 2 weeks go by and I'm like, well, this place hasn't called. So I call them up, and apparently they had to call the warranty company, and they were waiting for the warranty company to respond, and nobody was communicating. And it's been a month without a dryer. And I'm like, guys, listen, it's costing me $10 a load to do laundry here. And I'm like, and now imagine I had to break it down like 3-year-old style to them. Like, okay, imagine if you're at home and you got a load of clothes in the washer just got done. You want to transfer them to the from the washer to the dryer and get that going. You got to get dinner going and feed your entire family. And then you go to transfer the laundry. You got a whole load of wet clothes and you transfer it into the dryer and nothing happens. Now imagine this is you and you go a month without a dryer. How would you feel? And they're
Mm,
like, well, probably not very good. great. I Now that you understand how I feel, you understand, hey, let's figure out what we're going to do and how we're going to make this right. How am I going to get a dryer because I'm paying you guys for a service that I'm not getting and there's no communication.
Mhm.
Well, it ended up like we had to call the warranty company because they couldn't the company that we called couldn't give us any more information. The warranty company decided, "Hey, we're just going to buy you a new dryer because like we can't fix your dryer." And so instead of like they gave us a gift card, they refunded us our money pretty much.
Okay.
And so we had to go to the store, pick out a dryer and get it delivered and all this stuff. And it was a whole experience. And now I have a broken dryer sitting in my kitchen that's waiting for a time where I can go take it to the dump or to the junkyard or wherever it's got to go. I think it's a recycling center, but it's still sitting in my middle in my kitchen.
Hmm. Now
So
let me take your example. Let me ask you something. So here you are. Let's take this moment. Let's say that one of your sons had asked you to go do some Legos, right? And you
yeah,
said to your son, "Yeah, we could do Legos. Let me just throw the clothes in the dryer. I'll be right there." Right? And so here's your son now, super excited. He gets time with dad. They're gonna go do some Legos, right? He's kind of gonna get the box out. He's dumped the Legos on the table, let's say, right? And now you have this problem, right?
yeah.
Now problems are problems. That's life happens. We deal with that, right? And here you are, and now the dryer won't turn on. So now how's dad feeling? So in this moment, what are you feeling?
I'm feeling anxious and upset and angry and stuff,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
really don't think it would prevent me from playing with the Legos.
No, not yet. Not
It
yet. So
might change my I so it would probably change the way I speak to my kid. It would probably
yes.
change how I would interact with them, like
Yeah.
and just thinking about the dryer while I'm playing with the
Yeah.
Legos.
Yeah, and stay with me, watch what happens, right? So that's kind of a normal, like life has problems like that, and it
Yeah.
would adjust your mood, and you'd be like, oh, damn it, and now you got to take damn it to the table with you, right? And so now here
Yeah.
you are playing Legos, and like you said, it would have an impact on your mood, but you'd still be there for your son, and then you would finish playing, and you'd be thinking to yourself, I got to call the warranty company, right? And so
Yeah.
now you have this extra phone call that you have to make. All right, well, now you're on the phone, and your other son comes up to you and wants to know, hey dad, what's for dinner? And now you're on the phone and you're worried about this dry. You got wet clothes in there. You're thinking about mildew. It's going to rain tomorrow, so you can't put the clothes out on a line, right? And your kid wants to know what's for dinner, and now you go, not right now, right? And now if we just took just that not right now moment, we could easily say, wow, what a
Yeah.
shitty, what a shitty dad, right?
Right.
Or is there more to the picture here? Is something as small as a broken dryer actually having a domino effect on family life? Now
Yes.
take that tiny little experience and expand it to the war in Gaza and the government
Yeah.
shutdown and Ukraine and immigration and this division in the country. And you're telling me that parents aren't super stressed, not just
Yeah.
financially, but emotionally and economic, like everything that we're thinking about with global politics. And now our kid says, hey, what's for dinner? And we go, not right now. Right? So, and so we're inadvertently hurting our kids' feelings. Of course, none of us mean to do that, but
Right.
our kids are walking around going like, gosh, this world sucks. And guess
It
what
yeah.
happens when we teach our kids that this world sucks, or when they get a good inside view, a front row seat to our parents seeing how much this world sucks? You got an epidemic of anxiety disorders, because then the kid is
Yes.
going, well, what am I supposed to do?
Right.
I'm not a senator. Like, what am I supposed to do? And all of a sudden, therapists see an influx of kids with anxiety symptoms.
Man, luckily, so we had spoke a little bit about this the last time we had talked about like communication issues. Luckily, I am able to communicate with my family as these things are happening to me, how I'm feeling, why I'm feeling these things, and not necessarily trying to share the burden. That's not necessarily what I'm trying to do, but I'm trying to lighten the load of the burden so I can be as effective as I can be in that moment and them understand why I'm freaking out. And it's not their fault. It's that there's a whole combination of things that are happening. And I need you to calm down for a moment so I can calm down, so I can breathe. And I think that helps. I think being honest with them. And you know what? Like we live in such a small house. Like it's like less than 1,000 square feet, just under 1,000 square feet. And so there is no getting away. Like if we have problems, like we're having problems regardless of where we're at, because it doesn't really matter.
Right.
Having the kids see that. Like I the kids need to see adversity. I believe that they need to understand adversity as it happens. And so that the way, like, my kids don't have a choice but to see the adversity that we go through because we live in such a small space. And I wonder how advantageous it is for them to see that, not that the whole world sucks, but that the whole world sucks, but we're going to get through it and everything's going to be okay. Because at the end of the day, if you're still breathing, you got it pretty good.
Yeah, I think what I would add, and you're probably doing this anyway, is not just let them see that everything's going to be okay, but when you're narrating what you're going through, God, I'm so stressed out, you guys. This dryer thing is killing me.
Yeah.
It's putting me in such bad mood. It's not you. Don't worry. And then this key phrase right at the end, we'll fix this, or
Yeah.
this is solvable. This verbalized message to the kids that, hey, yeah, this sucks and this is a problem, but we'll fix it. You know,
Yeah.
kind of the message we're not getting from the government right now, right? Is,
Right. Right.
I know this is hard, but we'll fix it, right? I think that's that final ingredient that's gonna ease a ton of anxiety because the kids can
Yeah.
feel anxiety, right? They can feel it, but if there isn't some kind of reassurance that anxiety is part of life and problems are part of life, and also we fix problems. That's what we do. We solve them. We fix
Yeah.
mistakes, solve problems, and then we go on to the next moment. I think that's, speaking of communication, if that's verbalized to a kid and then they get to see it happen, yeah,
Yeah.
now I don't need a job.
Right. Yeah, exactly. When we I forgot where I was going to go with that. I that happens to me sometimes. I just lose it and it's like a bubble
Well,
and it's gone. But yeah, so my kids they do see that adversity that we go through, and sometimes it's easier to navigate it with them knowing. Sometimes it actually is easier to navigate things with them in tow,
mhm,
because like then you don't have to teach them later, like this is what happens, this is what you do, and stuff like that. And we are problem solvers around here. Like it doesn't we don't always understand as it's happening that we're problem solvers, but I do. I'm not necessarily sure about the rest of the family. But one phrase that I like to say is this too shall pass.
yeah, yeah,
This too shall pass. This feeling that we're going through, this feeling that we feel, it's not permanent,
yeah.
and we will get over it. Just like, my mom used to tell me I could fall into a pile of shit and come out smelling like roses. And I don't know if that means I'm lucky, or if I've done really good job at navigating things or navigating problems as they come. But this too shall pass. And what that means is it's not permanent. Nothing that we're going through right now is permanent, and including life
Mhm.
itself, right? Like, but we all die. And I think in the moment, if we could understand that, if we could take a beat and say, this too shall pass, and if we could do that, I think it'd help me out a lot in my life. But the reason why I've been just out of it is on September 10th we lost Charlie Kirk. And after that, I spent probably 3 or 4 hours on social media, just scrolling and just
Mhm.
so much negativity. I had to back away. And when I did that, it was like I quit communicating with a lot of outside people
Mhm.
because I didn't want to live in that all the time. And then I got behind on work, and it was
Yeah.
a whole big shit show. But now I'm back and I'm breathing a little easier because I've backed away from social media so much.
Yeah. Yeah. You know how I feel about social media. Well,
Right.
I tend to be the alarmist going, it's gonna kill us.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't like it. But I do, you reminded me when you were talking about, this too shall pass. there's a really gosh, Ricky, it's such a crucial lesson for parents to learn when it comes to teaching your children about that very lesson, that this too shall pass. I can't tell you how many of my adult clients are so scared of getting sad, of feeling sad or feeling shame or feeling angry. And when we, drill down to why they're so afraid of it, it comes down to this irrational, and they know it's irrational, but they can't help themselves, this
Yeah.
irrational fear that it's gonna be forever. If I
Yeah.
start crying, I'll never stop. If I
Yeah.
get sad, I'll never come out of it. If I feel the shame, I will drown in a pool of shame, right? That this idea that the negative emotion is here to stay. And I know where it comes from, and I really want your listeners to think about this, especially if they're raising kids. When we rush to rescue our children from tears or sadness, right? When we say like, "Oh, no, 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 here, what can I? Have some ice cream, have some," and we show them our own anxiety about the
Yeah.
state of their feeling. We're delivering this very vague message. They don't know exactly what's so wrong. They can see that they've upset us, right? And that we're rushing to fix something. And think about the other times in our lives that we rush to fix something. We rush to fix something when there's a bad injury, right?
Yeah.
Someone's fallen off a slide and broken their arm. We rush to the emergency room. We rush, you see ambulance going by, rushing to get to someone who's dying. So when we rush to our children because they're in a state of negative emotion, they're learning that negative emotion is a real bad emergency
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
terrifying and they better get out of it quick. Well, next thing you know, you're an adult on Angela's couch going, I can't get sad. No, I can't cry, right? Well, sure, because our parents taught us like that's one of the biggest emergencies of life. Instead, when our kids are in tears, when they're crying, when something sad has happened, let it be sad.
Yeah.
Sit with say like, man, this is sad, isn't it? And let them see that it doesn't freak you out and that this too shall pass.
Yeah.
Sadness isn't permanent.
That's a good
It
lesson.
yeah, yeah.
That's really good. Like I didn't, so I've had to learn that over the years, and I've got kids ranging in ages from 22 to 6. I've got them all over now I've got grandkids coming up. And
Oh,
so for
goodness.
me, yeah, for me, I didn't start learning these things. And each kid's different. They got to be parented different and everything. And the older I, I treat them different ages and stages. Everything's got to be age appropriate. And I tell you, they're really resilient, period. But especially when they're young kids, they can fall down and they're very rubbery. So
They're
you don't
durable.
right, very durable. Exactly. And so and I've learned over the years, and I've actually learned this, reinforced it by like therapists such as yourself, but your reaction is what they base their reaction off of, especially when they're very, very young.
Yeah.
And so if you're freaking out, it's only natural that they're going to freak out. So, and when things like very painful happen to me, I like people react like I burnt my foot one time and I'm screaming and it hurts and everybody's like freaking out. And in that moment, while I've got a burnt foot and it's really hurting, I had to, hey, everybody, I'm okay. I'm screaming because it really, really hurts. I will be fine. Calm down. And it
You had to
seemed
take
like
care of everybody else. Yeah.
exactly, exactly. And I'm like, it really, really hurts, guys. So that's why I'm being very animated.
Mhm.
Calm down, okay? I'm gonna be okay. It really, really hurts.
Yeah.
And so I go to the hospital and it was a whole thing. I ended up going, they told me I needed to see go to a burn unit. And I was like, for a foot, you
Right.
know? And they were like, well, that doesn't hurt. And I'm like, yeah, well, yes, of course it hurts, but it's a foot. They're like, I don't have $300,000 to pay a burn unit. Like,
Right. Right. Exactly.
I'm like, I'm just if this is pain that like if it lasts forever, I'm gonna have to deal with it. Like I don't have the money to pay you guys. So
All right. So you got to tell us the end of the story. Whatever happened to the foot?
oh, it's fine.
It's fine. It heals.
Yeah,
But it, it,
yeah.
it passed. That too shall pass, right?
Exactly, exactly. So how it happened was I was smoking meat. This is summer of 2022 for graduation party for my oldest boy
Wow.
and three of his cousins. So it was a graduation party for four kids. There was going to be like 150 people there. I'm smoking meats. It's like, I don't know, 8, 9 o'clock at night. It's dark or it's getting dark, and I pull the drip pan of water out of the smoker, and it was offset a little bit and it was very full, and I wasn't wearing shoes,
Oh,
and I dumped it right on my foot. And
oh,
yeah, I was wearing socks, and luckily I was able to get the socks off right away as soon as it happened because I knew what had happened, and I
yeah, yeah.
knew kind of what I needed to do to triage it myself. Um, and so I got second and third degree burns all
Oh,
over my foot. And I went to the hospital, the ER, and I walked in there and they didn't seem too concerned about it. Now, they were granted, they were pretty busy, but it was like sniffles busy. It wasn't like heart attack busy,
okay.
and they offered no pain medication, no lotion to go over, no pain killing lotion, nothing. They didn't offer anything. They just put me out in the waiting room. Meanwhile, my foot is like physically shaking, tremoring. I
Oh,
can't hold it still because of the pain,
oh,
and
wow.
it's really really bad pain. And so I was like, looking around, I'm like, it's going to be at least a couple hours before I get seen. I'm going home and I'm going to come back in the morning.
Mhm.
And so in the morning, the next morning, I went to urgent care and they were like, you should really go to a burn unit. And I was like, for a foot, and that whole thing. And I was like, just fix it, like I need antibiotics, I need the burn cream, I need all that stuff so I can take care of it, and I need to dress it all up and all that. I said it doesn't look like it's that big of a deal. It doesn't feel like it's that big of a deal. But if it is that big of a deal, it's just going to have to be that big of a deal because I ain't got 300 grand, you know?
Yeah. Right,
And
right.
so they sent me home and, they gave me antibiotics, the burn creams, and all that stuff, and told me how to take care of it. And I got instructions and all that. Well, I still had a graduation party that I had to do.
Right. Right.
And so it was that night. I suffered through it. I bandaged up my foot as good as I could. I shoved it in a work boot,
Oh,
and I went to graduation and was standing on my foot all day, and went to the graduation party and served food, and I did get to sit down a little bit for the party and have kind of but when you're doing that kind of thing, you want everything to go off without a hitch, and
yep.
all the stress and everything. I wanted to kind of share that stress instead of delegating it. And so the next day, I mean, it hurt something awful,
Ugh,
but I was okay, and it healed within 2 weeks completely. There's no nerve pain. So like they wanted me to go to a burn unit, and it wouldn't have done me any good. It healed good on its own.
yeah, well, good. Jeez. That sounds incredibly painful.
I mean, it was, but this too shall pass. I knew that in my head, like as it happened, and then like later on the next day, like, hey, the pain is just temporary. It'll go away, and at least if it's not temporary, it's not going to be this bad forever.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
And I think there's some good lessons there. You may have to dig a little bit to find them. I find that a lot of people in my life just aren't that deep.
Mm. I thought you were going to say patient, but
Yeah,
yeah.
they're not that
It,
either, but
well, as you were telling your story, I was thinking, um, from the kid perspective, and frankly, from a lot of adult perspective, when we say this too shall pass, and you get that response, well, it's not passing, right? Right, right. It's still happening. It's still happening. And I thought that's where you were going with it. That, well, yeah, have some patience, give it some time.
yeah.
This things are going to heal. But you said deep, so you're thinking, you see a lot of people who aren't. um, looking harder for the lesson, like thinking
Exactly.
in a more
Yes.
sophisticated manner. Sure, sure.
Yes, I'm like that all the time. Like I'm super analytical anyway. And so when things happen in my life, I'm like, what is the lesson that I can take from that? I don't do it consciously, like actually physically saying, what is the lesson that we can take from that? But I think back on it and how to prevent things, like if it's negative, how to prevent it from happening again. If it's positive, how to keep it going.
Hmm.
And I ultimately it might cause a little bit more problems than I realized doing that, but I'm super analytical about everything. And if something negative in my life is happening, I try to figure out why
Hmm.
and how to fix that instead of dwelling on, how it makes me feel or whatever.
Which is more, you're right, that's a deeper way of thinking. You're reminding me of all this research that we have on resilience. And the big research question is, can you teach resilience, or is it something you're born with, or can you develop resilience? Some people are really resilient, some people not at all, and what's the difference, and did this one have this kind of background, and does this one have that kind of genetics? And one thing that I know this is going to be a strange question, but just humor me for a second. When you were growing up and your toys broke, did you try to fix your toys?
Of course.
Okay. So so what you're doing there, right? As opposed to like throwing it in the trash can and going and buying a new one. You've got a problem. And it's a bad thing that happened. It's a miniature bad thing that happened, but you're a kid, it's a big deal. Like the leg broke off my Barbie. That's a big deal.
Right.
Like
Right.
what now? What now what, right? And if you're sitting here on the floor of your living room looking at your problem and you're thinking like, well, I gotta fix this, then the mentality right there, it's just even in that tiny little moment is, what do I have here to work with? And
Yes.
right? And I've got my hands, so I could try to force the leg back into the hip socket of the Barbie, right? Or I've got some duct tape in the garage. I could tape it, right? And you know what I could do is that since it's the duct tape's the wrong color, I could make it look like a mini skirt, and kind of like tape it, and then oh hey, look at that. Okay, all right, good. Back to business. Now we're playing with Barbies again, right? Um, that this it, I love the image of fixing toys, when
Yeah.
and here we are as adults and our kids coming to us and saying, the wing broke off my fairy. I know I'm using all girl examples for you, but I've got girls. The wing broke off my fairy, mom. We have to throw it away. And I think, no, let's see if we can glue that sucker. Come on, let's see
You're
if we can
like,
glue.
you know how much money I spent on that?
Right, exactly. But I like this lesson that sort of permeates the household, which is this kind of, all right, what can we do here? What can we
Yeah.
get from this? Yeah, I know this is a mess, but can we pull anything
I,
out of this? And that evolves into, what lesson can I learn? My father's dying of cancer. What is there here for me to take out of this?
right.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I never really thought of it like that, but like it does go back that far. Like literally in my childhood, like if something broke, I was trying to fix it. Not even just toys, just everything in general. But um I oddly enough, I had this conversation with my wife the other day about American made products.
Mm.
And I told her, I said, listen, there are some things that United States is just good at, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
some of these products that I buy, I only want to buy once,
Yes.
And
Like a
like if
dryer.
it exactly, if it breaks, let me fix it. Let me
Yeah.
fix it. And so the problem with the dryer is it was on its own warranty and like I couldn't fix it. Otherwise, I'd void my warranty.
Right.
But like it's sitting in my kitchen right now, and I'm fairly sure that it's just like a $10 fuse. And I
Mm,
might call a buddy of mine and be like, hey, come get this thing. I think it can be fixed, but
yeah.
I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I've reached that point in my life. But I was just using that as an example. When I buy things as an adult, I only want to buy it once.
Yeah.
I have, like, I just started a new hobby growing my own cannabis, and I have this tent, and I use the tent as an example of I spent pretty good money buying this tent, and I don't think it's made in America, but it really doesn't matter where it's made. That's the product that I wanted, and I put a lot of research into it because I only want to buy it once. Now,
Mhm.
if it breaks, it has certain points where it does break at. I know how to fix those things.
Yes.
One of the things is the zipper. That's a common failure point. And
Mhm.
eventually that zipper is going to give out. I know that instead of replacing the entire tent, I can just take that flap off and replace the zipper. And they actually sell replacement zippers, not a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I use that as an example in my not thinking about that and the resilience aspect and how I got that way. And honestly, I think I got that way by being poor.
Oh, oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And here you are back at adversity. Adversity is the best
Yeah,
teacher. Failure, problems, those are the best teachers in the world. When
exactly.
you don't have the resources to go buy a brand new tent or a brand new dryer, or
Right.
when you can't afford the burn unit, like all these where you go like, well, what do I have here? You
Yeah.
maybe got yourself some burn cream. What if you didn't have the burn? You'd be using butter. I mean, from the
Yeah.
fridge. We're going to be, and then, it's occurring to me that this entire conversation, we've been talking about resilience because you're saying, you know,
We
if
talked about it last time we talked too. Resilience is it's a pretty big thing in my life, and I do believe it can be taught. You just put somebody in a shitty situation and tell them you're gonna die if you don't
yeah,
figure out what to do.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean that's the long and short of it. Like, sure, I was poor. Honestly, the lessons that I got from struggling, and I still have those lessons at 40 years old. Here we're in an economic crisis, right? Like everybody's broke. You know what? My wife and I, like, okay, she does all the baking, she does all the cooking. We make our own bread now,
Uh-huh.
and it's healthier than it is buying it from the store, but it's cheaper. Like we
Yes.
got the cost down below $1 a loaf for
Yep.
bread, and
Yep.
we're making our own bread. It tastes better too.
Mhm.
And that goes back to like, listen, I've been in bad spots before, and this is exactly how we survived. We went into, tightening the belt is what I call it. But
Yep.
you go into these modes where, okay, so you can't afford to go to Sam's Club to get the cake for the birthday. Well, you know what? We got fucking cookbooks. We
Yeah.
can cook.
Yeah.
We can, and it's so much more fun, and it tastes better. And like I had no idea what icing was made out of. I didn't know it was made out of like confectioner sugar and stuff like that. My wife's like, "Oh yeah, we'll just throw some of this together." And
Yeah.
one day she was out of brown sugar. She was cooking something, and we weren't broke at this time. I can't remember what she was cooking. I think we were doing barbecue, and she was making some rub, and she had ran out of brown sugar. And I was like, "What do you mean you're out of brown sugar?" And she's like, "I got to go run to the store and go get some brown sugar." I was like, "Why?" And she's like, "Because I'm out of brown sugar." And I was like, "Well, hold on." I said, "You got white sugar, right?" She's like, "Yeah." And I said, "You got molasses?" She's like, "Yeah." And I said, "You have brown sugar." And she's
Yeah.
like, "What?" And I was like, brown sugar is more expensive, and then brown sugar is more expensive than sugar and molasses apart. And so when I was a kid, we had to make our own brown sugar. And
Interesting. Huh? How
that's
about
how we
that?
did it. And so she didn't know. She had no idea. And I was like, yeah, that's one of those things you learn, when you're poor.
Mhm.
And there's these jokes every now and then, like cinnamon. Like my sister was like, I didn't know that at the store that they sold already cinnamon that you didn't have to add sugar to.
Oh, cinnamon sugar that you sprinkle on
Yeah.
toast. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I didn't
Uh-huh.
know that they sold that. And my sister was kind of making fun of me one day. And then my wife had said something about it, and I was like, listen, when we were kids, this didn't exist. Like we had to, if we wanted cinnamon sugar, not only did we have to make the cinnamon sugar, but we had to grind the cinnamon sticks. Like we only had those cinnamon sticks. Like we had to grind those together. And then I was like, I didn't know these things existed. And she's like, it's always like ever since, like we've had it my whole life. And I'm like, we must have just been too poor.
Yeah, but now you know how to make cinnamon sugar and brown sugar.
Exactly, exactly. It's the funniest thing. And how do you I don't think you can teach poor, but you can definitely teach adversity and resilience. I believe you can. Just you gotta that anxiety is going to be there. You just gotta do
Yeah.
it. Like,
Well,
and I think that I do it more often because I feel like I don't have a choice.
well, I even yeah, I mean, I've gotten to know you a little bit. I think you would do it even if you did have a choice. If there's an opportunity to say or to show, we'll fix it. I think that's the trick. Take it. Take the opportunity.
Yeah.
I do as much baking. Your wife would put me to shame in that department. But I do a lot of the cooking. My family makes fun of me that I like cooking better than baking because baking there's too many rules and I don't like rules. So in cooking I get to break all the rules and do my own thing. But there'll be, something that I'm really, in the mood for that I want to make. And I need such and such ingredients. And I've been teaching my kids to cook with me, and that's I capitalize just like you do on the same lesson. So this recipe calls for this ingredient or that ingredient, and we don't have that. Let's say like we need some greens to chop up to put in there. Well, here's where I'm really going to lose your listeners. So I don't know if you know this, but you can eat dandelion greens. They're
Yeah,
del
absolutely.
and delicious. And so if we don't have, something fancy, we don't have the arugula that's required for the recipe, the girls will say, "Oh, we can't make this, Mom." And I'll be like, "Well, it is springtime. Will you go outside and see if we've got any dandelions growing?"
Yeah.
We'll head out there and we'll pull some weeds, right? And we'll want, rinse them off, and that ends up in whatever we're making that night. Or, we're making this other recipe
I
and it
think that is amazing.
Oh, I mean, and maybe we're both agreeing that we can teach resilience because what we're showing them is, well, what do we have here? What can we work with here? And this, yep, it's a problem, and we're gonna have to solve it. So let's solve it. Let's look around, see what we have in this house. Let's be resourceful and teach resilience along the way. That, oh, Mom,
Yeah.
we can't make this thing. Well, we could. It just won't. It's gonna be a little bit different. It's gonna taste this way instead of that way. You know.
Yeah, and actually, I've got another great example. Power outages. Like I,
Yeah.
so
Yes.
I'm, I'm, I do this thing where I love to. I don't know where it comes from particularly because I didn't do it when we were kids, but I love to prepare.
Hmm.
I don't know why, but I love to prepare. And I'm never as prepared as I want to be, but I'm prepared more than the average person. Like power outages, like when my kids know to check the weather during the summer because like, hey, is it going to storm? Like we were just outside, it looks gloomy, like, but I better charge my electronics. So if we lose power, I'm not bored. And like they've learned that because I like to be prepared because like for winter time, I know it's pretty dangerous to be without power. And so I've got emergency power. We've got a storm coming. I go and get a few gallons of gas and I prepare. I get things ready so we can eat if we don't have power. We can keep warm if we don't have power
Yeah.
and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
And the lessons that they learn from that is to not necessarily be prepared for emergencies. Yes, that too, but how to um what's the word I'm looking for? How to pivot when something happens
Yes.
and think on their feet. Well, okay, this happened, so now I'm going to go get this. Like the power went out, I got to go get the generator ready
Mhm.
and stuff like that. I think
I think you're teaching
teaching that.
I think you're teaching them to have a plan B to
Yeah.
and be nimble. And if plan A doesn't work, that's okay. We'll fix it. We got plan B.
Yes.
And if
Yes.
and then the other all the tiny lessons that we're teaching during the day about we'll fix it and this is a problem and duct taping your Barbie and stuff like that. Like all the little tiny lessons comes to, well, and if plan B doesn't work, we'll figure something out. We'll
Right.
fix it. We'll figure something out.
Yeah, and then that goes back to that old adage my mom used to say, you can fall in a pile of shit and come out smelling like roses. And I think I don't know. I've just always been that way my whole life. And I've been the kind of guy that I do stress. I do get bogged down,
Sure.
but that this too shall pass mentality has always been with me. I've always known that it's not going to be permanent, and like a lot of people, you know, we're in this situation now that our household income isn't as much as it would we would like it to be. The unique situation that we find ourselves in that not many people that I personally know understand is, okay, so you don't have enough income coming in, you just have to increase your income. And
Just snap your
that's
fingers.
that's exactly how they like, what are you talking about? How do I increase my income? You got to work harder. I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is. You have, so you work 10 hours in a day. That means when you come home, you can do a side hustle for an extra 2 hours. That's 12 hours. You got to, and that at that point, you still got to rest and this, that, and the other thing. On the weekend, go offer to mow your neighbor's yard. Do the things that do the hard things now so you can live good later. And
Yeah.
it's really that kind of a lesson that I don't know how you would teach that other than mindset and understanding that this isn't permanent, and whatever you're feeling right now, let's take care of it. Let's fix it.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
So, over the last being out there in California, it's got to be like a whole different world than what I'm living in here because how close to Los Angeles are you?
We're 45 minutes away. We're in the suburbs north, in
Right on.
so yeah.
So you walk outside your door and you still see people in the neighborhood, and like we do have that, but like most people around here are so busy, you don't really see them. Like if you see somebody running, they're literally running, like jogging or whatever. Not have But if they're not running or jogging or whatever, they're working, they got kids to take care of. Like everybody's so busy. And what do you think like would be an easy, cheap, affordable way to just relax with your kids on the weekend? I know sometimes we like to go to like parks and stuff like that, like free
Yeah.
activity
Yeah.
parks,
Yeah.
like play
Yeah.
parks and stuff.
Free entertainment. Well, what's wrong? You don't have the Pacific Ocean right there? You can't just go to the beach?
Yeah. Oddly enough, like I do know people that live close to the beach, like Jacksonville, Florida. I know some people that live Jacksonville, Florida, and they live real close to the beach, and they
Hmm.
don't go but maybe once or twice a year, maybe.
What?
Yeah.
That's crazy. All right, talk about free entertainment. I can't pull my girls off the beach when we get there. Um, yeah, I mean, like you're talking about cheap or free entertainment. So we have become kind of masters at deal finding. So out here in California, you can imagine sushi is pretty popular and it's
Yeah.
incredibly expensive, and we can't afford it. But if you go to this grocery store on Tuesdays between 5 and 7, you get $6 sushi that you can bring home.
Hey.
Right. And so, you can do that. We have, it's the early bird specials. This is stuff my parents taught me when I was growing up. You have dinner at 6 instead of 7, and you get a better deal at these certain restaurants. There's those hacks. But as far as free entertainment, I think during the summer, I noticed that the families that are not quite as privileged tend to be the most intense nature lovers because they go outside.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, they go to parks, they go to the forest, they go hiking, they go to the mountains, right? They walk out of their front door and they go outside. Um,
Yes.
Man, I can't, I mean, well, you'll have to have me on another time to talk about the mental health benefits of being outside and breathing fresh air and touching a
Absolutely.
tree and walking and hearing the leaves crunching underneath your feet. That's like a magical, I don't know, salve for your depression and your anxiety, being out in nature. So I like your instinct, and I would say like get outside. And on days that it's cold and it's pouring down rain outside for us right now, go get wet. If it's not dangerous,
Yeah.
if it's not lightning, you can go for a walk in the rain. You just go, it's okay. Bring an umbrella, put on a jacket, go outside and experience the world when it's rainy and wet and cold. It's
Hey,
still a really cool world.
my 6-year-old has never seen a mud puddle that he didn't absolutely love.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, if we started charging for mud puddles, we'd be billionaires, right?
I'm telling you, it's so funny because like he has little rain boots and stuff like that, but we've learned over the years to These times, we got into this a little bit at the beginning. These times are fleeting, you
Yeah.
know. And we have to let kids be kids, and sometimes that mud puddle right there is the best medicine a kid could have.
Yep.
And that we let them live, and our 15-year-old doesn't seem to like that so much, but our 6-year-old does. And so he is allowed to get as dirty as he wants to, and like I smoke cigarettes and I smoke outside. So when I'm outside smoking, like, um, he has a whole yard that he can play, and we don't make him wear shoes or, get all dressed or anything like that. It's just sometimes you got to let kids be kids, and
Yeah.
that's a great point. That getting outside in nature, it does something for your soul, and it helps you get away. And like, my suggestion would be for anybody that does any like cheap or free things, maybe shut the phone off, shut the
100%.
electronics off, get off
Connect.
them screens and connect. Exactly.
Connect.
And even if you think it's boring, sometimes boring is good. Sometimes boring does better for the soul than what you understand. Sometimes quiet
Yeah.
is good,
Boring
you know?
teaches patience, and in the solitude, what is there's a Maya Angelou quote, in the solitude you may even hear the voice of God. There's something about silence and boredom and having to wait and patience. And for people that aren't don't have easy access to nature, the next best thing for your soul, the next best thing for your mental health, free entertainment, the kitchen. Get in the kitchen
Yes.
with your
Yes.
family and start messing around with the ingredients in the fridge and the pantry. Start making stuff. Turn on the oven,
Exactly.
put something in the oven, and see how it tastes when everybody puts their own ideas into the recipe.
And before anybody starts bitching about costs and everything, like, we're talking the cheap ingredients is what makes things. It's not the expensive ingredients that makes all the things. We've been programmed over the years to consumerize ourselves and buy so much shit that we don't need. You can make a lot of things with bread, or not bread, but flour, sugar,
Yep.
water,
Yep.
eggs. There's so
Dandy.
many things that you can make out of those things. It's
Yep.
just a pinch of this and a pinch of that that makes the
Yep.
difference.
And don't forget the dandelion greens growing out front. Right.
Absolutely. That's so funny. That's so funny. And like, there's a lot of people actually. So I'm in Missouri. And we're in the Midwest, and there's a lot of people here that would do that sort of thing. As a matter of fact, when I was a kid, my mom taught us how to forage for
Hmm.
nuts and berries and stuff. Now, I've forgotten all that information by now, but I do know that if we ever come into like an apocalypse style, like, collapse, like, there's all this knowledge that I don't have. I know where to find it.
Hmm.
Libraries,
Hmm.
you know,
Yes.
and a lot of people like, well, what are we going to do in the apocalypse? Like, listen, I don't think it's going to get that bad for real, but there's enough land and space for everybody here. We get along just fine now. If there's no money, we're just going to have to find our own food. And the only people that are really going to be in trouble are the people on the inside of like big ass cities.
Yeah.
And if they
Yep.
can get outside the city, look
Yeah.
for your food. It's plentiful. Like, there's, like, if you walk out, so you live in California, you walk outside your front door, there's food in your yard.
We have our Native American tribe out here is called the Chumash. We have the Chumash Indians out here, and they when your kids are in third and fourth grade, you go visit them. That you learn about their lifestyle, and they have this lesson that they teach their generation after generation after generation, and they teach our kids when they go visit them, and they say, um, everything you need, God has put all around you. Everything
Yeah.
you need to survive is all around you. It's growing out of the ground. It's in the sea. Everything you need to survive is right in front of you.
Exactly. And I wish, speaking of leadership, I wish that our leadership, national and local leadership, would understand that these cities, when these cities were built, they used mostly local shit to build the cities. Like, they didn't go to Italy and get rock for the concrete that we have under our feet. Like, this is all ground stone from around here. The wood is probably local, and if it's not, like, it's from the Pacific Northwest or whatever. The point is, like, they don't have to do. it is very expensive to fix shit, but you probably ought to start fixing it before it falls completely apart. And we're dealing with a collapse style apocalypse. Like I
Yeah.
said, I don't think it'll get that bad, but especially here in the Midwest. But like out there in California, I know like a lot of people live in Los Angeles and stuff, like, but outside of the city, California is, and it's an amazing place. There's all kinds of stuff there. There's and the concrete jungle that is Los Angeles is older than you think,
Mhm.
and it was all the stuff that made Los Angeles is probably from California.
Well, and it's not that far away to get into nature from Los Angeles.
Right.
It,
Yeah. Yeah. It's stone's throw away to the ocean, you know,
yeah,
like
yeah, and
San Francisco is just an hour right up the road.
yeah, well, 6 from Los Angeles, but
Six, is
but
it six?
yeah, a lot of people, California is bigger than you think. It's a big state, but like you said, it's a big, beautiful state, and everything grows here. We're so blessed. We're so lucky. There's the ocean's right there.
Yes.
We get lots of seafood that just jumps from the ocean onto your plate. I mean, it's we
Yes.
have. I mean, I love that. I love the Shumash idea. Everything that we have is right here. And Los Angeles is a concrete jungle, but drive 1 hour that way, 1 hour that you got mountains over here and you got ocean over there, and everywhere
Yes.
else you've got trees.
It makes me want to go out to California.
You got to get
I,
out here.
I tell you what, I went to San Francisco in 2022, and it was so it wasn't right at the height of COVID, but the mask restrictions were all still in place and everything, and you had to eat outside and stuff like that. So it did kind of ruin part of it,
Yeah.
but because everything was shut down, we had easy access to everything, and we went to the Winchester Mystery House
Ooh.
in San Jose, I believe it is. And that was one of the most amazing experiences I had while I was out there. But we were out there for 3 days, and because we weren't going to be out there for very long, we wanted it to be the best experience ever. So we rented a convertible Mustang,
Nice.
and we hung out in San Francisco. And when we got there, I was supposed to be on a diet, and when I left, I was not. So
It
it was
happens.
an amazing, it was an
It happens.
amazing time. And I keep telling my wife, because like she's like, what do we want to go to California for? My wife is so I'm pretty conservative. I don't look at myself as conservative. I'm more of libertarian on a lot of issues. But my wife makes me look tame. Like she is way more conservative than I am. But she's like, what do we want to go to California for? And I'm like, because it's so amazingly beautiful. I love California and I can't get enough of California. Would I live in California? No, but I'd visit California all day long, every day. Like if I could only go to California on vacation, I'd be fine with it because like
Great.
it's so beautiful and amazing there. And the people that I've run into are awesome. Like, and I'm kind of a hippie at heart too. So I fit everywhere. Like I can speak to conservatives, I can speak to liberals, I can hang out with anybody, I can talk to anybody. Like I'm not like
Mhm.
the uber conservative type person. So I could tell, like I told my wife, like, listen, you don't have to go out there and talk to people. Like you just go out there and experience things the way that Californians experience, and you might understand some of these things. Like the ocean breeze is amazing. San Francisco, like in the middle of summertime, you got to have your jacket
Yep.
in the morning, and you got to have your jacket in the morning, but you got to wear a tank top in the afternoon.
Right.
It's awesome. It's so to explain those things, I'm like, you really got to experience it, because I knew California was warm. We were going in the summertime, but you go out there and you're in San Francisco, the bay is a whole different experience. Like it gets cold in the morning and hot in the afternoon.
Yeah, and you haven't even gotten to Humboldt County yet. Way, way up north where it's
Right.
cold all the time.
Right, right. And I've done a lot of research on it because like I just started growing
Yep.
cannabis, and then Humboldt County is where a lot of this stuff is coming out of that I'm
Cannabis
using.
capital
So
of the world. Yep.
absolutely, absolutely. Well, Angela, it's been an awesome conversation again. We've got to do this more often.
Let's
We
do it.
Yeah,
Let's do
absolutely. I will
it.
actually I'll go ahead and get with your team and we'll reschedule another one next month or something.
Sounds good. I'll make you a deal. I will do this again if your wife will come out to California and find out that we're nice people out here. How about that?
Absolutely. I think she may have been out there already. Like she's been to Mexico, so she may have been to California. I don't know. I don't really remember. We've had so many conversations over the last 20 years. But like she may have already been out there, but I told her like absolutely we have to like I want to visit Los Angeles because I've never been to Los Angeles. And just talking to her, she's like, "Why do you want to go to California for?" And
Nice.
I'm just like,
Nice.
because it's so beautiful and awesome and warm. And like, even when it's hot, it's not as hot as it gets here. And she's like,
Yeah.
"Really?" And I'm like, "Yeah, actually, the hottest place in the United States is in California. However, like, the whole state's not like that. It's
No,
not
we don't go there. None of us go there. It's too
right,
hot.
right. I think I can't I can't remember the name of the place. It's like
Death Valley.
Hell's Furnace or something. Death Valley, Hell's Furnace
Valley.
or
Yeah.
something like that. Or it's the Devil's Furnace or Furnace Creek. That's what it is. Furnace Creek. It's the I think it might be the hottest place in the world. I don't know. I'm gonna
Really.
have to check in on that, but it's certainly a hot ass place. And I remember one summer, it was really, really, really hot here. And I checked, and the day that I had checked, it was warmer here than it was in Death Valley, California. And
Wow.
I was like, look, it's so hot here. It's hotter here than it is in Death Valley. And like it was a cold day there, but
I get it though. It can get hot here, but don't worry. None of us go there. We hang out in the much nicer parts.
yeah, would like you remember oh family vacation or National Lampoon's like
Yes,
family vacation
vacation.
or Vegas vacation where they come out to see Uncle Cousin Eddie and he's in the middle of like the Nevada desert.
Yes.
Like there are parts of California that are that dry, but it's
Yep.
still beautiful.
Yes. Yes, it is.
But anyway, like yeah, it's been a great conversation. I'll let you get out of here for now, but hey, let's keep this communication going because it's always a great time and I love talking about resilience. I love talking about family stuff. I love talking about just how to cope with different things that we're going through as people, as families, and you've got some amazing insights on like not just family stuff but individual stuff and working on yourself, and this too shall pass was an awesome lesson for people to hear and listen to, and I'm glad that we got to go through it with you.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Such a nice thing to say. I appreciate it. Yeah, let's do it again. We have good
Awesome.
conversations.
Awesome. Thank you, Angela. We'll see you
Enjoy the
next
rest of
time.
the day. All right,
Bye
bye-bye.
guys.
Woo!